So I was working on a little construction project today, and I was thinking about avoidance. Avoidance is a funny thing. This the saying that you're not ready until you're ready, and that can apply to a lot of things. But I was working on this project, and I was thinking like, okay, I don't want to have to do this huge thing, so I'm going to try to work with what I have and little by little as I start tearing things apart, I end up having to do the very thing that I was avoiding in the first place, to do it right. And that that kind of applies to so many things, and I think I certainly experienced this a lot in healing trauma and men's work, and just you know doing parts work and repeating patterns, and trying to unpack and sort out my own dysfunction, my own lack of self-care, and bad habits and all these things. But I also think it's kind of a metaphor in a way for this country too, and what we're going through, and how we've been avoiding dealing with this shit that's in our face right now. We've been avoiding, and when I say we, I'm talking to white people here, mostly mostly men, dealing with the racism, the misogyny, the pedophilia, the abuse of power, so many things that we can't avoid anymore. It's here, it's in our face, and we have to deal with it. And my hope is that we get a chance to do the thing that we've been avoiding all along, and that's to transform and face the consequences and deal with the reality. I mean, none of this stuff is new. And I keep thinking about this when I see these Gen X posts of like, oh man, I wish, don't you wish we could go back to the 80s and 90s when everything was great? And I'm like, man, it was great for fucking white people. It was not great for everybody else. It wasn't great for women. It wasn't great for people of color, marginalized communities. The AIDS crisis wasn't great, and how the government dealt with that, how Ronald Reagan dealt with that was not great. And I think, I mean, I don't talk about this much, but I moved to this little podunk, redneck, incredibly racist town in the 4th grade. And I moved there at the same time the first black kid in the whole school system moved there. Like, I don't think there had ever been a black kid in that town before. And he was in my grade, and he was in my class. And we just became best friends immediately. Like, we're, the two new kids. There was no racism in my household, in my family. You would be, it's quite the opposite. You did not say the N-word, but in this community, I heard people at least 4 to 5 times a day saying the N-word, hard R, like, and usually directed at my friend. And that was my first exposure to racism, and at times it almost felt like these people hated me more than they hated him, because I was his best friend. They would literally like carve racial slurs in the desk that I sat at and that he sat at, and I mean, it was just unimaginable. These are kids, like 4th grade, man. This is what they were being taught. And but I can tell you, it was not great for him. the 80s and 90s were not great for him. And I saw firsthand, we got in a lot of trouble together. And, kind of, we were both latchkey kids, we had no supervision. So we got into all kinds of shit. But, he's dead. He did not have the same chances, the same breaks, the little things that add up over time. Yeah, it wasn't great for a lot of people. But I hope that we can face this as a, as a collection of white people who created this, face what this country really is and where it really came from, and root out the parts of that still exist that are unacceptable, because there's a lot of it, and it was always here. It's what do you think women or people of color did before cell phones? I mean, if you were my generation, you remember Rodney King, you remember seeing that video. I had never seen a video like that before in my life, before that moment. But I wasn't confused that was the first time that happened. It happened every day. Every day. And it's not like nobody talked about it. It's nobody listened, And, yeah. I don't know. My avoidance, it never ends well.